We did get to binge Outer Banks. I'm not gonna do like a full on review, but I will say it took me a little bit to warm up to this. I mean, the show premiered mid-April. So I'm like way behind the times on this, but what do you expect? I'm fucking gonna be 40 soon. And it's our in July, they announced that the series was renewed for a second season, which I agree with. Green light all the way. I don't know how you would argue against that with the way that it did end. Loved the ending, did not love the start. The opening is like John B, who's like this like beautiful teenage boy, 17 years old, who definitely is not 17 in real life. The actor is not 17 in real life. I hope to God not, because like I remember when I was 17, I remember how other 17-year-olds looked, and it was like, we're not that. Y'all are just running around like knocking beers back and like smoking the dope and acting cool as shit, and not, just like handling things just way differently than what a 17-year-old would do, if we're being honest. But John B's narrating, and he's got the voiceover going. He's like, and that's us. We're the Pogues. And I was just like, I can't. This voiceover right now is completely turning me off to this show. Fortunately, I stuck with it. And, after the first 2 episodes we watched like on that Thursday, so last Thursday, my sister-in-law was like, what do you think? Hoping we'd be like super stoked. And I was like, yeah, this is good. I hope it's not going where I think it's going. And turned into a treasure hunt murder mystery. Really got hairy there for a stretch towards the end, where it's like, I'm trying to put myself in other people's shoes. My wife is an empath, self-proclaimed, but I think a lot of people would agree with that. And so, I've had my bouts with some pretty bad shit, and apparently she just like, it's, if you could visualize it, it's like I'm giving off these fucking green stink lines that are just going directly into her body. I'm just like, I am literally poisoning her with my negativity, my depression, because that's just who she is. She just absorbs the energy from everyone else. It's like fucking last week with Code 8. We were talking about Code 8, and it's like the chick comes across as a healer, but she's actually just taking whatever's inside you and putting it in herself and absorbing that. And I think that's a pretty good analogy for what my wife is. So it's like, now that I know that, it's like, oh boy, whoa, I really got to fucking turn this ship around. You had John B, which I couldn't get over the fact that like, we can't just call him John or JB. Like John B's just seems like so fucking why, dude? And his middle name is Bird. So his dad called him Bird because his middle name is John Bird Rutledge. Why wouldn't you just call him Bird? Yo, Bird, what's up, Bird? Hey, Bird. Birdie. Tweet. Like, why are you saying John B? And it got me to thinking, my fucking name stinks. Neal? No. I did a whole bit on my name as well, saying like Neal is just, it's a very submissive name. Kneel before Zod. Take a knee, bend the knee. It's like Neal. You're submitting to whomever. So I was like, can I go by like ND? Middle name's David. Go by ND Lynch. And then I started thinking about ND Chavez. And I was like, maybe I could pull that off. Maybe I could just go with ENDY Lynch, ND Lynch. And then have people mistake my name for being Andy, and then we're back to square one. So fuck it. But yeah, John B is the ringleader of the Pogues, which I could not stop saying Pogues. There were 2 things I couldn't stop saying in this show. Pogues, which I thought, first of all, it's like the Pogues are the poor kids from the wrong side of the track, according to Synopsis. Let me read off the synopsis for you. A group of teenagers from the wrong side of the tracks stumble upon a treasure map that unearths a long buried secret. And they're not like, what's so interesting is they act like they're so bad. And it's like, you guys are not, I mean, like, okay, so you drink and do drugs, but you're also not. But then you start to think about like the record that they're building over the course of the series, like, oh, breaking and entering, oh, attempted robbery, theft. It's like, if you were just to have a news report, some like uptight butthole clenched news reporter like reading off everything that they've done and just showing like the whole like their mugshot over the shoulder, you'd be like, oh, those are some bad kids. But you watch it in real time and you're like, these kids aren't so bad. You're just trying to get by. But the Pogues, named that because apparently the Pogue is like a trash fish. It's like one of the lower, cheaper fish that you can catch or cook up and eat, apparently. And then there's the Kooks. So there's the rich side of the island with all the rich kids, and they're called Kooks. I completely forget why. But I couldn't stop saying Pogues. We're the Pogues. And then the other thing I couldn't stop saying was Rafe. So there's Sarah Cameron, who's the daughter of Ward Cameron, and John B's love interest, eventually becomes his love interest. She's referred to by many as the princess of the Kooks, but she often rejects the Kook life, gets mixed up with the Pogues. You have Kiara, or Key. She's the daughter of a successful restaurant owner, hangs out with the Pogues. Technically a Kook, as she comes from a wealthy family and lives in figure 8, but the Kooks reject her as a Kook. So she's living that Pogue life. And her and John B get first couple episodes, they're like kind of romantically entwined a little bit. And then there's a rule like Pogues don't mack Pogues, but it's like you're not a Pogue, you're technically a Kook. So you could mack on this Pogue could mack on that Kook. Anyway, the Kook, Sarah, her brother's named Rafe, and I could not stop saying Rafe, 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 Pogues, Rafe. Jonathan Davis plays Pope, the brains of the Pogues, who is very bent out of shape about possibly losing his scholarship. He's like hell-bent on, well, I wouldn't say hell-bent, but he's very adamant about not getting into trouble because he wants to get that scholarship. Like, get that scholarship, son. You have JJ, who's John B's loyal best friend since the 3rd grade, also a surfer, also a wild card, also getting the tar smacked out of his goddamn eyeballs by his father. His father's very abusive. I don't know where the mother went. Mother took off, possibly divorced. Same with John B's mom. John B's mom just took off. I guess is in Montana or something. I was like, at one point I was like, where are all the moms? Where are all the moms at? Because like even Sarah's mom is gone, I think. I don't know if she passed or is divorced, but there's a stepmom. And then you don't really get to see many of the moms until later on in the series. But I thought that was an interesting approach. It's like, we're just going to see a bunch of dads. Topper is like, my wife said it best, is like, this is the stereotypical rich 80s villain douche. Topper. Sarah's boyfriend, who eventually becomes the ex-boyfriend, despises the Pogues, but then has like a turnaround towards the end of the series where it's like, that was weird. Spoiler, when John B and Sarah are hiding and Topper's like, how can I prove my love to you? And so then he ends up doing like the old switcheroo where he wears John B's hoodie as he comes out, head down so they can't see it's Topper. And then he reveals it's him, giving John B and Sarah enough time to escape. So what's your next move here, Topper? So it's like you proved how much you loved Sarah by doing this, but then is Sarah going to be like, wow, he really does love me, and ditch John B and get with you? It's just like, that to me was kind of like a big old plot hole. Ward Cameron, Sarah's father, who's played by Charles Esten, but this guy looks exactly like the dude from Whose Line Is It Anyway? Chip, I think his name is, on Whose Line Is It Anyway? Exactly like him. So maybe, I don't know, maybe it is the same guy. But it was weird because I got the dude from Whose Line Is It Anyway in my head as I'm watching Ward Cameron. I'm like, he's about to improv some funny ass shit. Here comes the line, the improv line that's going to make us all dookie our drawers. And no, he just was intense and dramatic the entire time. just fucking intense cities. He's a wealthy business owner who lives on the wealthier part of the Outer Banks doing his figure 8. All the Pogues live in a poorer area of the island known as the Cut. And then you have Rafe, Sarah's older brother. By the way, like, high schoolers do cocaine now? Cocaine has made one hell of a fucking comeback. I remember like in high school, and I was not cool in high school. I think I've proven that time and time again. But like in high school, I always thought it was just like, it was pot. Ooh, pot. Pot. Clutch your pearls. And like, I was just so afraid of pot and marijuana because my mom had told me such horror stories, which it's like, Mom, I think when you did it that one time and you saw spiders, that was not marijuana. I think you got some like, you got wet, son. I think you got some angel dust or PCP or something. It was laced. So I was like very staunchly against it because I was like, I'm already a pretty weird person. I don't need to amp that up anymore. So I thought just like pot was a thing. That's it in high school. You get older and you start to hear about all these kids like getting into painkillers or heroin. And it's just like, whoa, like Coke's a thing in high school? What? So yeah, it's like the thing that was Outer Banks. Like this like 16-year-old, 17-year-old kids just like railing lines in high school. And then Rafe was the guy distributing it all. He's like 20 years old. I don't think there was a time where he was not high on coke in the series. It was just like he constantly like twitching and nervous and sweaty. Gets involved with Barry, his drug dealer and the owner of a pawn shop, which characters like that, Barry, the Barry character, they give me the worst feeling. I can't, it sends shivers down my spine. Yeah, Luke is JG's abusive father. And then there was also Pope's dad, who was like, I don't want you to turn out like me. You need this scholarship. We don't get the scholarship. It's like, I don't know. I think he'll be all right. I think there's more than one way to go about getting a scholarship. And it's like, and you're not doing that bad. You're like catering to these like really uber rich parties. I mean, I'm sure that's not cheap. What are the twists? Can we talk about the twists? I honestly didn't think Ward Cameron was going to be, so John B's convinced his father's still alive, hasn't seen him in almost a year. His dad went out to sea, never came back. So he's declared, I guess they want to declare him dead, but John B won't allow him to do that. Is that a thing? He's on the lookout trying to find his dad. He thinks that his dad's speaking to him through clues, finds a pocket watch, finds this, finds that. There's like this ship called the Royal Merchant that has $400 million worth of gold. So they're just in a relentless pursuit to get that. And then, of course, it goes sideways because Ward Cameron, Sarah's dad, is also like on the hunt for that. And he's the reason that John B's dad is no longer with us. There was a disagreement about the split because John B's dad found it, but didn't have the equipment, didn't have the resources. And so that's where Ward comes in with the resources. So I honestly thought that was going to be a red herring type thing where it's like, okay, they find the two like lackeys that they're found dead. They have this similar wounds from the hook. And then you see the compass, the watch, the compass or whatever, and the hook, and like this figure with the hood over him from behind. You're like, oh, who's that? Talking with the sheriff. And then it's revealed that it's Ward. And at that point, I still was like, yeah, but you don't know. No. Like, I know this looks bad, but like, who knows why he killed those guys? Maybe he did it out of self-defense and he didn't want to like throw the hook overboard or something. And he has the compass, but like, you don't know why he has the compass. Maybe he's doing all this for good. And it's admittedly looks pretty bad right now, but maybe he turns around and totally redeem himself. But nope, he didn't. It turns out he killed John B's father. He's just a horrible dad. It's kind of amazing that you can be that kind of a horrible dad, like on the low for fucking 20 years. Pretty impressive. He came across like in the beginning towards the middle of the series, like I'm this upstanding citizen. I'm the like not eminent archon. Jesus. Yo, you frat much? You fratted up, dude? You fratty? But it was something like that, like the eminent archon of the Knights Radamadon, Shamalama Rankokama, that kind of thing. Like he won that award. And like, he fires John B at one point because like, he thinks he's stealing from him. He disowns his son and is just like, you owe this much money. I'm going to pay it off. And then you're not allowed back in the house. It's like, damn, this guy is all about the morals and ethics. And turns out, nah, he's just as devious and dirty as the rest of them. Of all the characters, he kind of spoke to me the most. Shoop. Oh yeah. Some of the recurring characters. So you have Sheriff Peterkin, local sheriff, who, yeah, I didn't really get a good read on her at all. I was kind of on the fence with her throughout the series. Like, okay, so she's obviously like doing a favor solid to like what appears to be the murderer. So what's her deal? Is she on the take? And then you have Shoop, the dude who looks like fucking Taika Waititi as Hitler and Jojo Rabbit. He's got it's like Hitler-esque. You know, the mustache and the hair. It's just like, I'm trying not to picture Hitler now, but you're doing a really bad job of not convincing me. So he's a quote unquote sketchy cop, Shoop. You know, the first time we see him, he's like going into that motel room where Scooter was holding up and like basically takes some of the money that was in that safe that's supposed to be like submitted for evidence. So the whole time you're like, I don't know about this dude. Is he in on it? Wheezy is Sarah and Rafe's younger sister. I was at one point I go, she was talking to Topper, and like the way that it was shot, it made Topper look like he was 8 feet tall and made Wheezy look like she was 3 feet tall. And then my wife and sister-in-law were like, well, Wheezy is 12. And I was like, oh, okay. Whoa, that's jarring. Why is she called Wheezy? I feel like we need to know that in season 2. Like, is it asthma? That really stuck with me. Rose, she's the stepmother, as I mentioned, Ward's wife. Hayward, that's Pope's father, who's just like handing out bags of shit. Just bags of, I guess Pope is the delivery dude. That makes sense. Duh. He's just super, towards the end there where Pope just like lays off and fucking clocks his dad. I don't know if I could ever punch my dad in the face. I mean, he's not around anymore. There were times where we had some serious disagreements, but there was never a time where he was like, show me what you got. You think you're a man? It's happened to some friends. I know that. And to some family. I'm not going to lie. But I don't know. I could never picture trying to punch my dad in the face. Because it probably would have turned out just as it turned out with Pope and his dad. Like Hayward. When you think of Hayward, I think of like Ironhead Hayward. And his son is a professional football player. So I would love to see those two go head to head. Hayward took it like a champ and just came back and like kind of half grinned. Like, is that all you got? And I was like, feel bad because like, I don't know. My son just punched me in the face. Lana Grubbs, widow, former wife of Scooter Grubbs, who was killed during Hurricane Agatha. She eventually comes forward with some important evidence against Ward that she tells John B. Oh boy. When John B finds out that Ward killed his dad, it's just like, it's on, like fucking Donkey Kong. Also, how about when John B and Sarah are like, they meet and we're like, we're going to go up the lighthouse? What was that? It was some kind of structure, tall, circular staircase. Topper follows them, obviously, again, and ends up like, maybe pushing, maybe not pushing John B, who then fucking flies through the air, falls very far. I want to say equivalent to the amount of distance that Bran, the Broken, fell in Games of Thrones, episode 1, I think it was, season 1. So spoiler, if you're trying to get into Game of Thrones, that happens. And just comes away with it with like, I don't know, broken wrist, which he ends up taking the cast off like a day later. He had like maybe a headache or a concussion or something like that. Kelsey is Rafe's friend. A lot of bros being thrown out here. Yeah, bro. Oh, really, bro? Okay, bro. Yeah, bro. Come on, bro. Bro. I also had a stand-up comedy bit about that did not go over well. Hence, no longer performing. But what an ending. What a fucking ending. The last couple episodes where John B's just on the run, on the lam, from the cops, and they've, I mean, the way that they shot that and the way that came around was just perfection. They're on this island, or they're by the water. I guess the FBI feds are in town. They're closing in. The cops it's a manhunt, and we got the fugitive type manhunt going on. The way that they shot it, the way that it was pulled off, it really made you feel like it was just like, I don't know how the fudge he's going to get out of this. Trapped in the laundry room at one point. I guess when you're on a manhunt, you can just quickly be like, hey, open the door, we're kicking it in, and then slap like a Post-it note on it and then break in and then just go for it. Didn't know that was a thing. Wanted posters pasted all over town. Everyone's like, kids are like, people are just like fighting each other for the reward, because I guess the reward was weird too. It was like not $25,000. It was like $25,000 in value of nautical equipment. Like, that you have been confiscated in evidence. Cool. It felt almost like Grand Theft Auto-ish to a certain extent, because it's just like when you hit, in Grand Theft Auto GTA, when you hit like 4 or 5 stars on the meter, and it's like you don't just have the local authorities on your ass. You have like helicopters, tanks. That's what it started to feel like towards the end there. And they still managed to slip away each time, him and Sarah. And then eventually it was just like, well, we don't want to be arrested. and I can't go to jail. This was such a Romeo and Juliet moment, though, where John B. and Sarah are on the boat and they're like heading into the hurricane because there's no other way about it. And they're like, I'd rather die than go to jail. And it's like, guys, a lot of life left. You know, you're not even legal. You can't even vote yet. You're not even legally allowed to drink. You can't even rent a car. There was a moment where I could totally see this going down the path of two lovers. You see John B survive and then Sarah doesn't survive. And you're just like, if they had done that, holy shit. Instead, it looks like they're going to the Bahamas. When you can watch an entire series in like a day or two, you got something good on your hands. That's the problem with the Netflix series, though. You burn through it so quickly, and then it's 2 years until you get it again. You're like, wait, what? Who are these people again? Where do I know them from? What happened?